welcome. You're watching NewsX World and I'm Megha Sharma. Let's take a look at the top headlines. 31-year-old conservative activist and influential Trump ally Charlie Kirk has died after being shot at a campus event in Utah. The US president shared a grief video calling it a dark moment for America. Videos are surfacing of the shooter running on the rooftop of the building after shooting Kirk dead. A manhunt is underway with the FBI urging the public to share photos and videos of the shooting. Seoul has confirmed that hundreds of South Koreans detained in a massive US immigration raid were being released and were set to be flown back home on a charter flight. The country's president said that the workers will arrive home on Friday, adding that South Korean companies would now be very hesitant about investing in the United States following the massive immigration raid. The UNSC will hold an emergency meeting following Poland's request following a Russian drone raid on its territory. Poland said it would restrict air traffic in the eastern part of the country after it shot down drones that violated its airspace during the Ukraine attack. The former Chief Justice of Nepal, Sushila Karki, has now met the army chief amid speculation that she is going to be picked as the interim Prime Minister of Nepal. Talks between the army chief and the Gen Z protesters will also resume today. Curfew in violence-hit regions, including the capital Kathmandu, has been extended till Friday morning. US President Donald Trump held a heated call with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, conveying deep frustration at being blindsided by Israel's strike on Hamas representatives in Qatar, even as Israel faces global condemnation for its military strikes. At least 35 people have been killed after Israel carried out airstrikes in the Yemeni capital of Sanaa, a day after targeting Hamas leaders in Doha. A number of sites were targeted, including medical and fuel storage facilities. The Houthis said they used missiles against the Israeli strikes. A Brazilian Supreme Court judge has voted to acquit former President Jair Bolsonaro of an alleged coup attempt and annul his trial over jurisdiction. The former president of Brazil faces accusations of attempting to illegally hang on to power after his 2022 electoral defeat to current President Lula da Silva. France's new Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu's first day in office was marked by widespread street protests against President Emmanuel Macron, with demonstrators clashing with the police. The deployment of 80,000 police officers broke barricades and dragged hundreds of protesters into custody, even as flashpoints multiplied. Big story of the hour, the brutal shooting of Charlie Kirk that has shocked the entire world. Donald Trump, the president of America, released a grief video accusing the radical leftists of plotting this gruesome assassination. In fact, we'll just put out visuals on the screen for you that have been released on social media platforms, where we can spot the shooter running across the rooftop of the building, the very same rooftop from where he aimed at Charlie Kirk and shot him dead. There is satellite imagery that has revealed the courtyard at Utah Valley University, where the US conservative activist was fatally shot during the campus event. Joining me on the telecast is Gautam Mukherjee. Gautam, there are a lot of visuals, videos, pictures, images that are circulating on social media, and the latest one that we've gotten, and if my team can put those visuals out, this is the shooter, and you can see him running across the rooftop from where he shot Charlie Kirk, and this is seconds after he has taken aim at Charlie Kirk. There have been gruesome eyewitness accounts that give us an indication of what happened, how it happened. Again, your reaction to this shocking story that is coming in from America. Gautam, if you can hear me. Okay, we'll
Oh,
try.
yes. Sorry, I didn't realize it was from me. Yes, it's
Okay, we'll try to.
it's a very expert military grade sniper that has achieved this and killed this 31-year-old activist who's a close aide of Trump's, and possibly, quite apart from nipping a promising young politician in the bud, it is a warning to Trump from the forces that are behind this killing. Megha.
Right, absolutely. What do you make of the accusations that are being made by the Republicans and Donald Trump, of course, saying that this was the job, this was the handiwork of the radical leftists in the country?
It could be. Targeted assassination like this could be the leftists, but Trump has no shortage of enemies now from various sides of the fence, the anti-immigration people, the people who are being sackings, his cutting off financing and aid to various organizations. Many people have been very badly done by. And so it could be anybody. They did take 2 pot shots at Trump himself. And still unclear, even though the investigations are going on. One has been caught and is being investigated, the one who took a shot at him while he was playing golf. But they haven't really got at the shadowy people motivating these killers. So we don't know. And now one has been killed, actually, with just 1 shot to the neck.
Right, absolutely. Now, there are these stark similarities between the assassination plot on Donald Trump when he was campaigning in Pennsylvania a few months ago before the elections held. There was a similar shooting that was directed at him. There was a shooter who was just a few yards away on the rooftop who had targeted Trump, and a similar shooting taking place over here. Do you think this instills an atmosphere of fear inside political leaders, and will this then deter politicians and public figures to come out and participate in these large rallies and conferences?
I think life will go on pretty much as usual with heightened security. The political processes cannot afford to go into a huddle and hide. They have to be out there in order to galvanize public opinion in their favor. And so, yes, this is always a risk, but it is something that better policing, better intelligence can probably do something about. But these people who are on roofs and manage to shoot people at public meetings, this is becoming a pattern, and obviously says that you have to examine not just the vicinity, but also, rooms and hotels and windows and roofs that have clear sight of the possible target. The targets themselves also, I think, have to take greater precautions, maybe get behind bulletproof glass, wear Kevlar. There have to be a number of other moves. And also, letting people know that you're coming and you're going to be there at a certain place at a certain time has always been a tough thing for security, because other people are able to plan based on what you have made public knowledge.
Right, absolutely. Gautam, thank you very much for joining me on the telecast and sharing your views on this developing story. Mind you, the FBI has still not been able to hunt down the shooter, the assassin who was responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk. We'll keep you updated on developments as they happen. The Utah University has suspended all in-person and virtual classes until Monday following the fatal shooting of Kirk. In a statement, the university said that it was shocked and saddened by his tragic passing and expressed solidarity with the students, the faculty and the staff who witnessed this event. The campus community is now mourning in wake of the tragedy. The Utah residents gathered for a candlelight vigil outside the regional hospital in Orem to honor the U.S. conservative. There are some reactions coming in. Listen in.
Four people in front of Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was one of my greatest heroes, and I looked up to him a lot. Role model. He is a role model of mine. And the second interviewer came up and started talking about mass shootings and whatnot. And she first asked how many shootings were caused by trans people, and he said way too many. And then she asked how many shootings were by other people, and that's
I admire Charlie Kirk for his ability to speak with people, and he was very he wasn't so confrontational, as maybe some people say. He worked with people, he talked to people, he was very opinionated, obviously, but I just liked his interviews, that he would have with students and talk to them. But I think he represented at the best of what's in our country in regards to freedom of speech, being able to speak and speak your mind.
Shifting our focus to the other big story now, the hundreds of South Korean migrants that have been detained by United States administration are in the process of being sent back. The South Korean Foreign Ministry has stated that the workers who were detained are now boarding buses to the airport and are expected to be home Friday morning. Repatriation was delayed after Trump asked if the workers should stay in America to train American staff. This comes as the South Korean President Lee Jae-myung also spoke on the recent U.S. immigration raid that detained hundreds of the South Korean workers at a Hyundai project. He called the raids bewildering and added that it could impact the future Korean investment decisions in America.
기업들 입장에서는 미국의 현지 공장을 설립한다는 게 이거 앞으로 온갖 불이익을 주거나 아니면 어려워질 텐데 이거 해야 되나? 이런 고민을 안 할 수가 없겠죠. 그게 아마도 앞으로 대미 직접 투자에 상당히 큰 영향을 미칠 수가 있죠. 그래서 우리는 미국과 이런 대미 투자와 관계된 비자 발급에서 좀 정상적으로 운영해달라, TO를 확보하든지 새로운 유형을 만들든지 하는 협상도 지금 하고 있는데 아마 미국도 현실적인 필요가 있으면 그 문제는 해결하지 않을까 싶어요. 오늘 우리 시각으로 오후 3시에 구금 시설에서 출발할 예정이라고 합니다. 그리고 비행기는 내일 새벽 1시쯤에 이륙해서 내일 오후쯤에 서울에 도착.
There were about 300 South Korean workers that were detained last week in the U.S. immigration raid. And after long talks with Seoul's chief of staff, the workers are now being released and flown back to South Korea on a charter flight from Atlanta. Dr. Sanjay Kumar back on the telecast with me. Dr. Kumar, now we are getting to know the Seoul officials have now released a fresh statement. They're saying the process of bringing these workers to the Atlanta airport has begun. They are being brought in busloads, 300 of them, and they will be flown back to South Korea, and they will be arriving back to their country by Friday morning local time. I do want to understand from you a very stern remark that has come from the president of South Korea. He said that this development that has happened is likely to hit the South Korean investments into United States of America. What impact do you think this is going to have on the South Korean United States trade relations?
This has signaled very strongly to all the Korean companies that they are not going to work the same way in terms of human resource allocations like they were doing it before. And you know, in the era of this artificial intelligence and digitization, in manufacturing also, these data-driven approaches and installments are used. And South Korea has an edge on that, especially when I am mentioning this, I am taking mainly semiconductor and chip into consideration. And battery is also one of them. And battery as well as the shipbuilding. So these projects have been in the center for all these Korean companies, and they were looking for expansions, to which President Trump also welcomed these investments. But after this incident, it has changed the perception of Korean companies, and that is where President Lee Jae-myung was trying to point out. He was trying to say that it may affect the economic diplomacy aspect because Korean companies are playing key role in the US when it comes to economic diplomacy. But alliance is going to be in the same direction, I think. That is the major message he was trying to give. And as you have correctly pointed that they are preparing, they are on way. So we also got the news that they have been preparing their luggages, and their colleagues, like company colleagues of LG Energy Solution and Hyundai Motor Group, the joint venture kind of setup they have. So colleagues were also helping them. Of course, it will take some time for them to come out of this traumatic incident that has happened with them. You know, some of them may need some counseling as well because their families are also in uncertain situation. But it's a big relief. But still in Korea, the media circles as well as the political and people circles, they are still not 100% relaxed. They will be only relaxed when they will see them being departed from the US.
Right,
because
absolutely.
Of some
Thank
delays
you
yesterday.
very much, Sanjay, for joining me and giving us insights into this developing story. I'm going to shift my focus to Eastern Europe, where Poland has now requested that after the request of Poland Prime Minister, the United Nations Security Council is going to be holding an emergency meeting to address Russia's violation of its airspace. The move comes in response to an unprecedented overnight operation in which Poland is backed by NATO allies and it shot down multiple Russian drones. This is the first time a NATO member has directly engaged and destroyed Russian military assets over its own territory since the start of the Russia-Ukraine war. In the meantime, China has reacted by saying that it hoped a growing dispute between Russia and Poland would be resolved through dialogue, and the drones that Warsaw said it belonged to Moscow were shot down in Polish airspace. The Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson has also reacted, saying that the Chinese side hopes that all parties concerned will properly resolve the disputes through dialogue and consultation. Alison Matla is on the telecast with me. Alison, please give us an insight, particularly about what do you think is going to transpire at the UNSC emergency meeting that has been called later today at the request of the Polish Prime Minister?
First of all, from the news reports I'm reading, we don't know who's going to represent Poland, if it's just going to be their ambassador or somebody else. What is important is this has come onto the biggest international global arena, the UN. So this is no longer a problem, let's say, between Poland and Russia, Poland and Belarus, or even NATO with Russia. This is now a global problem that goes beyond the Ukraine-Russia war and the wider effects and the allegations that there is an escalation which is sparked by Russia, which seeks to expand or at least not arrive at a ceasefire. So I think it's very important that it's going to be debated, and also it's important it's going to be debated in a sort of non-military forum, at the world's top diplomatic forum. And we'll also have a chance, we'll see all the countries in the world having a say in what happens, not just the European or countries, not just the NATO countries, and not just the countries directly involved in the conflict. So I think it's quite important. You've just given us the update that China has stepped in, and obviously they are trying, from what the statement said, they're trying to calm the situation, to diffuse it, to not let it escalate. And they're also acting almost like an older brother to Russia, which is, a direct combatant. They invaded Ukraine, whereas China in this instance is trying to calm the situation to stop it escalating, which is probably a role that China would like to have, to play, be a major player on the world stage at the level of the UN. So I actually think it is in everybody's interest that this is going to be debated at UN and not just at a NATO level.
Okay, all right. I do want to understand from you, and it's an interesting comment that came from NATO yesterday, because NATO used its aircraft to counter-attack the drones that the Russians brought into the Polish airspace. But at the same time, NATO also released a statement saying that this is not going to be considered by NATO as a Russian attack on a NATO territory. What do you think is the reason for NATO downplaying this particular act of invasion by Russia?
What I think is both sides, Russia and NATO, do not want the situation to escalate. Now, while it's widely believed that this was deliberate, Russia is not saying it's deliberate, it's saying that it was a mistake. So it's clear that even if it was deliberate, the Russians don't want to see it being seen as deliberate. And therefore, NATO is taking the Russia at its word that this is not a deliberate act of escalation. And so I think both sides are interested in this not escalating further, because at the moment we have a request for Article 4. Now, the next stage is Article 5, and that's very serious indeed. Article 5, for your viewers who don't know, is when a NATO member is attacked by another country, a foreign actor, all the NATO members have to respond. So I think both sides, both Russia and NATO, at this moment, I should add, do not want to escalate the situation. They do not want to risk activating Article 5, because we would be in a totally different situation entirely, and possibly in a full-scale war.
Right. Alison, thank you very much for joining me on NewsX World and sharing your views. Meanwhile, the Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk has emphasized the importance of allied commitments in modernizing Poland's air force during a visit to its military base Lask. Listen into what he said.
Będziemy robili wszystko, żeby zarówno zobowiązania sojusznicze, które dzisiaj są tak ważne z naszego punktu widzenia, żeby były wypełniane przez naszych sojuszników, żebyśmy nigdy jako państwo i wy, jako polscy piloci, nie byli osamotnieni, czy to w czasach pokoju, czy w czasach wojny. Jestem przekonany, że w jakimś sensie ta lekcja z wczorajszej nocy powinna być bardzo mocnym argumentem dla was, na waszą rzecz, ale też dla Polski w naszych rozmowach ze wszystkimi sojusznikami. I ja będę robił wszystko, one stawało na głowie, żeby to, czego potrzebujemy dziś, jutro, pojutrze, nie w perspektywie 8-10 lat, żeby to do Polski trafiło i żebyście także wy dysponowali coraz nowocześniejszym sprzętem, coraz bardziej niezawodnym.
Brazil's Supreme Court continued its deliberations regarding the case involving the former president Jair Bolsonaro, with his lawyers stressing the importance of a technical judgment based on legal evidence, as one judge voted to acquit Bolsonaro of the coup plot. A 5-judge bench is presiding over the coup attempt trials of former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro. A simple majority of 3 of the 5 presiding judges is needed for conviction. 2 other judges have earlier voted to convict the former president. One judge's vote in Bolsonaro's favor has bolstered the argument of Bolsonaro's defense that the case should be decided by the High Court's full bench of 11 justices, including 2 who were appointed by the former president himself. Bolsonaro's lawyers have maintained his innocence on all counts and argued that his trial involved several procedural mistakes.
Todos esses elementos conduzem à inescapável conclusão de que não há provas suficientes para imputar ao réu Jair Messias Bolsonaro os crimes de tentativa de abolição violenta do Estado Democrático de Direito, 359, golpe de Estado, dano qualificado. Ao contrário do que sustenta a acusação, o réu Jair Bolsonaro não tinha dever algum de desmobilizar essas manifestações. Pelo contrário, caso tivesse feito utilizando o aparato do poder público, estaria violando o direito fundamental previsto no artigo 5º do inciso, que por meio delas o Ministério Público não logrou apontar absolutamente nenhuma prova que Jair Bolsonaro tivesse algum vínculo com os sujeitos que invadiram prédios públicos na Praça dos Três Poderes em 8 de janeiro de 2023. Tenho ainda 1, 2, 3, 4... solicitando dinheiro para iniciar a execução do plano violento de execução de uma autoridade da República integrante do Poder Judiciário. Da execução. Referido monitoramento, operação... Um crime.
Um crime. Obrigado. Voltamos para a continuidade do voto. Então fica suspensa a sessão por 10 minutos.
Condenando Mauro Cid e absolvendo os outros. Só para eu entender.
Não, ainda não acabou.
Ah, tá. Obrigado.
There are locals who are also reacting to this development in the legal proceedings against Jair Bolsonaro in the Supreme Court. Listen in.
Partimos de uma premissa que o povo tem que acreditar na sua justiça. E se essa justiça chegou agora para, como é que se diz, coibir os abusos de Estado, tivemos a ditadura militar, na qual esses abusos dos Estados não foram punidos como deveriam ser, e se agora vem, a população está de parabéns por ter uma justiça que diz não à violência contra o Estado de Direito.
O fato de o Bolsonaro estar sendo julgado por isso é um fato histórico, é extremamente importante, significa que a gente finalmente não está anistiando, passando pano para as pessoas que têm poder, né? E também fica como um exemplo para as próximas tentativas de tomada de poder e da liberdade aqui no Brasil.
Eu quero simplesmente anistia para todo mundo, a começar pelo Bolsonaro. Anistia. Eu peço que seja feita a justiça de verdade. Não essa trama que fizeram contra Bolsonaro e contra o pessoal do 8 de janeiro, que ninguém está tendo o direito de ter defesa ampla e justa.
Donald Trump é um que Deus escolheu para nos ajudar também, né? Porque eu agradeço ele por tudo que ele tem feito pelo Bolsonaro, pela família Bolsonaro, pelo Eduardo Bolsonaro. Ele está nas minhas orações de noite e de dia. Eu amo Donald Trump. My name is Eliane Trump. Thank you.